base. Okay, Bomine. Bomine Rav Dimi Rav Nachman. Maula nuche kada de malcho gabi kada de makamka. Can you place right next to each other a barrel of salt and a barrel of kamcha? Kamcha Rashi says is kutach. Right, so you want to know, could you put them together? Because the chash is that maybe the kamcha is going to fall into the. You're going to have some mix-up. The kamcha is going to, the kutach is going to fall into the salt. You're going to use the salt for the basar, to salt meat in it, and then you're going to have milchiga salt, salting the basar. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be basar b'challah. So Amarle also, yes, that's a chash. It's considered also.
Falls into the kutach that makes just that salt, not the whole thing.
Right. No, the chash is that the kutach is going to fall into the salt. The kutach is going to fall into the salt, and then you're going to use that salt for basar. Okay, so Amalei he says yes, it's aser. Dechala mai. How about vinegar? Did you put vinegar next to kutach? They would put vinegar a lot of times into a fleishiga dish, right? Shalom, good morning. They would put. We're right at the top, a few lines down. They would put vinegar into a fleishiga dish. So now the same thing. If you have kutach that falls into the vinegar, it might be a problem. So can you put a barrel of kutach next to a barrel of vinegar? Amarlei shari. He says it's okay. And he asks him, what's the difference? He tells him, when you eat a full kur of salt, I'll give you the teretz. I mean, basically he's saying, it's an expression, like, give me schar, I'll tell you the answer. My timer says, when kutach falls into salt, then it's nicker. It's noticeable. You're able to see the kutach in the salt, but when it falls into vinegar, I guess it gets all absorbed, and you don't even see it anymore. So there's no hecker. It's sort of bottle. Right? When kutach falls into melach, it's isay. It's there. You can actually see the kutach, the remnants of the kutach still within the salt. But over here, when it falls into vinegar, I guess the consistency of the kutach and the vinegar is able to the vinegar consumes it, right? It totally, you don't see the kutach anymore.
Also don't taste it.
Right, you don't taste it either. Rashi says v'tayim benami lo yav kutach b'chaymetz. So it's not nicker, it's batal, so that's not a problem. But by kutach and salt, it is a problem. Okay. Ahu bar goizla denofa lekad de kamcha. There was a bar goizla. Bar goizla is probably a small bird that fell into a kad of kamcha, a barrel of this kutach, right? So that's basar b'chalav. It's oif b'chalav, right? It's a problem. So, but still, Shari Reb Chilin of Rei Derava. Reb Chilin allowed it. Mi Pashrunia. He was from Pashrunia. He allowed it. Why? Amarava man chakim lemishri. Who's smart enough to be matter this? Ki haygavna ilav Reb Chilin of Rei Derava and Pashrunia. Meaning, there's no one smart like him who was able to be matter. Why? Because Sovar ki Amar Shmuel Molech Harei Kireiseach. I mean, what was his chap? What was his brilliant chap to be matter this? Is that when Shmuel said Melech Harei Kireiseach, when something is Melech, it's like Reiseach, that's only if the thing is so salty, if the salt, right, that's being used to take out the blood, or in general, whenever we say that Meliach, when something is being salted, it's as if it's being boiled, and so whatever is next to it is going to be absorbed and it's going to be mixed in as if it's cooking together in a pot. That's only if the salt is so strong that you can't eat it. Something is so salty that you can't even eat it. That's the level of salt needed in order for it to be considered reseach. But the kutach, yes, it has salt in it, and therefore you might have thought that because the bar goizla fell in, everything's going to be absorbed. It's not so salty. You can eat it without washing away the salt. You can eat it the way it is. So even though it is salty, but it's not so salty that it's not nechal, and therefore there is not going to be a transfer of juices from the bird into the kutach, from the kutach into the bird. Therefore, it's not going to be basar b'chalav. And I guess it was cold also, right? So the thing was cold, and even though there was salt, it wasn't enough salt, and so therefore he says, just take it out, and everything's fine. Says the Gemara, v'hani milichai, and that's only if the bird is alive. But if it was already roasted, So then, by klipa, then you actually do need to peel
It
away.
can't be if it's alive. Raw. If it's alive, it fell in.
Not alive, raw. I mean, yeah, I said alive. Sorry. Yeah, raw. If it's raw, if it was alive, so it would be nevela. If it died, it would be nevela. Whatever. Yeah, no, nechanami for sure. Chai means, I'm sorry, chai means raw. Right. Aval tzli, but if it was roasted, then by klipa, then you actually do need to peel away the outer layer, because once something is roasted, so it's much easier. The outer layer is very soft and it's more porous. There are more holes, and therefore we are choshesh the kutachwanin, and therefore you have to cut away the outer klipa, the isbei fili, and if there are holes also, then kulei aser. Not enough just to peel like tzli. If they're b'koim rashes, if there are holes, if there are perforations, punctures, or whatever in the bird, in the piece of chicken or whatever, so then we are choshesh kutachwanin v'imitavlin, and also if you already spiced up the piece of bird, right? You already spiced it up, so that also creates creates a bridge, like the kutach is able to go into the bird much easier because of the spices that you made that weakens the layer, the outer layer of the oif, and therefore we are chashish that it is going to go inside. Therefore, kulei aser. Okay. Omar ibn Nachman, Omar Shmuel, kikar shechata cholei basar asur le'oichlot. If you cut a piece of meat on top of a kikar, on top of bread, you're not allowed to eat it. And basically, what he's saying is that sometimes when you have tzli, Rashi says we're talking about tzli, you roasted it, right? When you roast, you don't have to do malicha when you roast something. So he didn't do malicha, and you roasted it. And what happens when you roast it is that the blood gets sucked in by the flames, right? But sounds like there is sometimes blood left over inside, and that blood doesn't make it usher for you to eat the piece of basar unless it actually leaves. We'll see the Gemara discusses it exactly, but now over here, if you're cutting a piece of meat over a piece of bread, kika shechata cholei basar, that's asur le'oichlot. Then you can't eat that piece of bread because it's considered too much blood on it that was in the piece of meat that you cut. V'hani mili da'asmik, and that's only if it really became red. If the piece of bread became red, v'hani mili da'avre, and it's only true if it went from side to side. Meaning the blood isn't just seen on one side, the redness is seen on the other side too. And also it has to be thick. It has to be thick, like that seems to be like blood. But if it's a thin red juice, then less blood. But that's not a problem at all. Now Shmuel threw this the bread. If this would happen to bread, he would throw this to his dog. Shmuel had a dog. Okay, Rav Huna gave it to his shamus. In fact, the Gemara, how are you allowed to give it to your waiter, to your shamus? What does it make a difference? If it's mutter, so for everyone's mutter. How to give it to the shamus? The shamus was also Jewish, right? So what? How could you give it to this? It's more shani Rav Huna that anina datei. No, Rav Huna really held it was fine. It was just he was very particular. He was anina yadas, meaning he was very sensitive. He didn't want to eat from it. Okay. Rava used to eat this blood that seeped out of meat that after it was roasted. He would eat it. You call it the yain of basar, meaning he would say that it's not asur b'chlal, because after you do tzli, there's no more asur blood there, but what seeps out is considered. It's just considered some type of juices that comes out, and he called it the wine of meat. It wasn't even considered dam for him. Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel, ein menichin kli tachas basar. You can't put a plate, a kli, under the basar when it's roasting. Ad sheyichle kol mare admumit shabai, until all the redness leaves the meat. Why? Because as long as the redness is still there, you're going to have blood dripping into the plate. And so you want to put a plate, like we said, the beidugi we talked about yesterday. You want to put a plate under the roasting shawarma, right, in order to collect all the fatty stuff. And you want to eat the fatty stuff. You want to mix it in after. The problem is as long as the piece of meat is red, it's going to collect blood also, and that blood is going to be asur, and therefore you shouldn't do it until the marad mumis until the redness in the meat goes away. Now it says the Gemara Minoy Adin, and how do we know when that happens? How do we know when it's ready, when the redness leaves? When it starts smoking. When it starts smoking, so then you know that it's already cooked. Even the meat is already starting to smoke up, and then you know that the moisture inside left already. So the blood's left. Masrif the Ravashi, Ravashi, mata ila mata. Maybe the smoking you're seeing is because the bottom part, which was closer to the fire, that cooked up already, and now it's smoking up, but the top is still dripping blood. So how could you put the plate there? It means how is that enough of a sign when it's smoking? Elam Arbashi Leslie Takanta. There is no takala. Elam Mishti Bitarti Gloli Milcha. He says to throw 2 pieces of salt. Rashi says on the basar and in the kli that you want to put under it, and then umishfia, and then you pour out the fat from on top. Basically, he's saying the only way to get rid of the blood, if you want to collect the fat while it's cooking, and you don't want the blood, the way to do it is to put some salt in the plate underneath, and then the salt will drag the blood towards the salt, and the shuman will stay on top, and then you'll be able to sift off the shuman on top. You'll take the shuman, you'll eat it, and the blood will stay on the bottom. So he's saying that's the way to do it. Okay. Rashi says that the Bahag, says it specifically has to be very little salt, because it's a lot of salt, so then that'll make the dam mix in with the shuman. Also, so the fact that he says, tarti gloli milcha, 2 pieces, two pellets of salt, he means specifically 2. Okay, that's the Bahag Rashi. Okay, Amar le Rabbi Acha Beid Rav Ika le Rav Ashi. Umi Amar Shmuel Hachi, did Shmuel say this? Amar Shmuel Kika Shechat Kolel Basar Asur. Meaning, he's asking that Shmuel, we have a member from Shmuel that says that after all the redness leaves the meat, then you're allowed to put the veiduki, you're allowed to put the thing to collect the fat. He says, did Shmuel already say this? Amar Shmuel Kika Shechat Kolel Basar Asur le'oichla. He holds the meat, the blood that's left in the tzli, you're not allowed to eat it. Even after it was fully roasted, he holds that the blood that comes out of it, or the redness that comes out of the piece that's fully roasted, it's still usher. So even if you want to tell me, after it's fully cooked and after that moment, still, how could you collect the stuff that seeps out of the meat? He holds that if you would cut a piece of meat and redness drips out, it's also, if it falls onto a piece of bread, it's also, he said, right? It's you have to throw it out. Says the Gemara, Shani Osam the Agav Duchko the Sakino Pali. No, over there, the only reason why Shmuel holds it's a chashash and it's usher is because you're cutting it with the knife, so therefore the pressure of the knife is able to seep out of the piece of meat some whatever blood is left in. But if it's still roasting, if it's just roasting on the fire without any pressure, without anyone sticking a knife inside, it's just roasting on its own. After it's fully roasted, after that the mum is left already, so then we're not choishish for any blood to come out. Okay. I mean, to me it's just interesting. And it sounds like some machlokes. Shmuel holds it's asar, but Rava held it was mutter, right? And Rav Huna held it was mutter. Now Shmuel holds does he hold really it's asar midoraisa? It's asar midoraisa. So then when you chomp into a piece of tzli, maybe there's dam in there, but he holds no, that's not dam shapirish. It's not going to come out, which is very interesting. Meaning, if you have a piece of meat, if you were to cut it with a knife, and dam comes out, according to Shmuel, that's asr. Is it daraisa? Is this daraisa? I don't know, but when you eat it stam and it doesn't leave your mouth, so then it's fine. But we hold dam that's inside is mutter. Dam shapirish is asr.
What's the difference between dam inside and dam shapirish?
I'm not sure. Where do we learn it from? I think we learn it from a pasuk. It's like in Masechta Krisos. It's mentioned. I learned from a pasuk.
It's the same dam, it's just whether it's inside or outside.
Right. Well, the whole issue of cooking meat without melicha also is that the blood is going to leave and then come back. That's the issue. There's another sheet of Kolel in Masechta Menachos that's mentioned over there that dam shebishla is also. If any dam that's cooked dam shebishla is always mutter. If you cook blood, it's always going to be mutter. So it turns out that the whole institution of melicha is all midrabanan. because what's the problem? You're going to cook meat, so what? The dam's going to be cooked also, and it's dam shabishla is the rabbanon. That's a shita. Some hold, Rashi holds maybe it's only by kachim. Only by kachim you say dam shabishla is not a problem. Whatever. It's interesting. Melicha is a very the Mishnah never discusses melicha. I think the Aruch HaShulchan says that the reason why it's not so discussed is because what they used to do always is they used to pickle their meat or something, and therefore it was never an issue. Because when we said when you pickle it, if you put it in vinegar, if you boil it, also there are different ways that you don't have to do melicha b'chlal. You roast it, you boil it, you put it in vinegar, so that's why it was something not discussed. Okay. Okay, but either way, over here it's interesting that he holds. I guess maybe he holds it when you're biting into it. Maybe some dam is there, but maybe in your mouth it's not called dam shapirish. Not sure. Okay. Amar Nachman. Dagim v'oifes shemochan zeim zeh. If you salted fish and oifes together, so then asur, it's asur. Says the Gemara, Eichidami. What's the case over here that you're telling me that you can't salt fish and chicken and birds together? So if it's talking about a kli that doesn't have holes in it, like a regular pan with no holes in it, so then a few oifes v'oifes nami asiri. So then the halacha is that when you roast basar or oif, everything you have to take the blood out of it. Not roast. When you salt oifes and basar, if you want to salt a bunch of pieces together, right, and you have to make sure that the kli has perforations underneath, has holes on the bottom, so that the blood seeps. If the blood stays there, it's going to go back in, right, or it's going to go from one piece to the other. It's a problem. So you have to always make sure that there's holes that the blood seeps out and it doesn't gather into a pool of blood under the piece of meat. So if we're dealing with a piece with the kli that doesn't have any of these holes, then afilu oifes v'oifes nami asiri. So then even if it's both oifes, it's going to be asur. Why are you telling me dagim and oifes are asur? Right? Kli minukov, but if it's a kli minukov, so then afilu dagim v'oifes nami shari. So but if there are holes, so why is it asur? The dagim also should be mutter. Says the Gemara lo'elam kli minukov. No, must be we're talking about it is a kli minukov. And in this situation, oifes and oifes would be okay. But dagim, specifically fish, is mishum de raful karmai, because their outer layer, because their skin is very weak, it's thin. Kadmi upalti, so then they get rid of all their blood. The melicha finishes with them quicker. Kadmi upalti, they first finish with all their expelling of the blood, with all getting rid of the blood from the dagim. The oifes kmiti, and the oifes are thicker. Right. The outer layer of a bird is thicker. The melicha doesn't work on it as quickly, right? So it needs more time to take out all the blood. So we have over here the salt works on the fish much quicker than the oifes, and therefore basar denichi dagim, after the fish are already finished, they're resting from the salting process. They're already done. Giving out the blood, right? So pliti oifes. So then the oifes are still expelling whatever the juices and the blood, right? And then what's going to happen is v'hadar balimine is that the fish are b'leah from it. And it's basically what happens. We say that when you're being malech 2 pieces of oifes, 2 pieces of basar, as long as they're expelling, they're not accepting, right? It's either in or out. You don't have both in and out. Right, and therefore, as long by you have 2 pieces of basar, 2 pieces of oifes, so you would assume that the amount of time it takes to salt it for the blood to leave is the same for both pieces, and therefore, when they stop giving off blood, the other piece also stops giving off blood, so it's never going to accept the blood from the other piece. But over here, because dagim work quicker, therefore they're finished already, and now that they're finished giving away blood, they're now open to accept blood from the chicken, and since the chicken is still giving off blood because it's thicker, it takes more time, so therefore it's going to answer the dak. Okay. Mari bar Rochel imach lebasar shchuta bahadi basar treifa. So now, Rav Mari bar Rochel he was moileach kosher meat with treif meat, right? So now also the Kamei Rabbi came in front of Rava, and his shaila was the same thing. Because we just said that as long as it's the same type of meat, it's not dagim and oifes. So they're both being pilot, right? They're both being pilot at the same time, and they're not going to be b'leah from each other, right? So maybe so if they're both being pilot, so maybe I can even be b'leah together with I'll be Melecha together with treif even, because you told me that as long as the Melicha process is happening equally, right, they're all they're doing is expelling, all they're doing is being maflit, and they're not being Baileah. So then the kosher piece of meat is not going to be Baileah from the piece of treifa. So can I be Melecha them together? So Amar Lei, no. He says Hatmein. We learn from the pasuk Hatmeim. Eilat. The pasuk says Eilat Meim lachem b'chol hasheret, and we learn from the extra Hey Les or Tziron. The right one of the kippah shalan. They're not only stuff that are also basar that's also not only the basar itself is also, but also the tzir, the juice that comes out, the right of the spices that come out, the kippah. I think tzira, the natural juices that are in the meat. Roitev, I guess, is the sauce that's cooked with it, right? But kippah is the like the coagulated fatty stuff, I guess, that are in the pot. Either way, not just the actual meat, the supplementary things to the meat also, and therefore they're also asr. And what he's trying to say is that even though you're right, the blood in the meat will not be absorbed in the blood from the basar treifa will not be absorbed in the basar shchuta, and vice versa. The blood, because as long as they're being maflit blood, they're not going to accept any other blood, but they can still accept the tzir, because I guess that works differently. Meaning the juices in the basar treifa will still go into the basar shchuta, even though the blood won't, because I guess it's only the blood that they're being maflit, so they can't accept more blood, but they could accept other things. In fact, the Gemara let him tell them from Shmuel, the She'll tell him it's kureseach. It's like you're cooking it together. Says the Gemara, I would think specifically he means that regarding the dam does transfer from one piece to the other as if it's reseach. In a situation, Rashi explains, in a kli where there is no hole, meaning if there's no hole in the kli, right, and they're both doing melicha with them together, so then the dam will transfer from one to the other. I would think that's only what Shmuel means. Shmuel means regarding the dam, if it's a kli and a menukav. But over here we're talking about a kli that is menukav, and there's no problem of dam, so I would think it's fine. So therefore the Gemara says, specifically Shmuel means regarding the blood, about tzir and v'roitv loy, but not the tzir or roitev, kamash malan, that it's not a problem. Right, kamash malan, that even the tzir is a problem. And therefore, over here, even though the dam wouldn't be a problem, the tzir wouldn't be a problem. Meisivei, dag tohar, shemolchim dag tomei. If you salted a kosher fish with a not kosher fish, so mutter. Says the Gemara, my lav shall you shnei meluchim. Isn't the situation where they're both meluchim? And since they're both meluchim, still we're saying it's fine, right? You just told me that basar shchut and basar treifa you're not allowed to salt together. Over here, it's saying that you're allowed to salt dag tamei and dag kosher together. Says the Gemara, my lav shall you shnei meluchim, and they were both salted, and still it's fine. Says the Gemara, like you're going to show you tohar meliach v'tamei tafel. The tohar was salted, and the tamei was not salted, and therefore we're going to assume that the tamei doesn't give taste, doesn't give tzir, doesn't give anything into the kosher fish. Says Gemara, v'amid tani seifa, since it says in the seifa, hayatohar meliach v'tamei tafel mutter. I guess yeah, that's what they change it to. Then it's mutter, right? So that seems to be the last case, right? That's the case we just wanted to say right now, and that seems to be the next case in the brisa, right? But midiktani seifa avali mayatar meliach v'tamei tafel. So then Michlal Doreisha b'shish name meluch maskina. Right? It must be the Reisha wasn't that case. So the Gemara, no, Perusha Kamefarish, it's explaining it. Tar shemelcha im dak tamei mutter. Keitzad shehayatar meliach v'tamei tafel. Okay, so the Gemara Chanam Mestarman. This also makes sense. If you think that really both of them are meliach and the Reisha hashta shnei meluchim shari. Now you're telling me if even both of them are meliach, it's mutter. Meliach Sorry, tahar meliach v'tamei tafel mibaya. Right? And it's why would, if you're telling me both are meluach, it's mutter. If you really want to tell me that the first case is when they're both meluach, right? And only the second case is when the Torah is meliach and the tamei tafel. Why do you have to tell me the second case? If even when both of them are meliach, for sure, when only one of them is meliach, it's going to be mutter. Elo the Gemara wants to prove that the whole case, there's only one case in the whole brisa, right? One case where the Torah is meliach and the tamei tafel. Where it says no, if it's because of that, that wouldn't be right, because Tana Sefer L'Gluya Reisha, the only reason why we said it again, said the latter case is to reveal to us that the Reisha, the Loitema Reisha Tahar Meliach V'Tamei Tafel. So you wouldn't think that the only case where it's mutter is when the Reisha is Tahar and Meliach and the Tamei Tafel. Vashnei Meluchim you would say is Aser, therefore Tana Sefer Tamei Tafel. That you would know for sure the Michal the Reisha Shnei Meluchim Afilu Achishari. Meaning the only way I would teach you that even in the situation where they're both Meliach, it's still mutter. That's only al yidei teaching you the second case also, right? The second case was tar meliach and tamei tafel, and I would say also then what's the reisha? The reisha is when they're both meluach. If the reisha is when they're both meluach, right? So then I would that would teach me that even in the case where they're both meluach, it's mutter. Right, but if I only had one case, I would say it's the less chiddush. I think about this a few times. The reason why it has to repeat something is because if it only say it once, I would think it's the less chiddush. That's why I have to repeat it again, so you would know. Oh, I mean, not only the less chiddush, even the bigger chiddush. Therefore, the Gemara is saying on its own, I would not have known that, and only meaning don't bring me any rayas from the actual brisa alone, only because of the what we know, and we're mukim the brisa taka that it's only talking about one case when the tahar is salted and the tamei is not salted, and therefore we hold it's mutter. But if they're both salted, it'll taka the other. Okay, ad kan.